Have you ever thought to yourself, what was I thinking when I dated that guy? It's kind of embarrassing to feel like such obvious mistakes you just weren't able to see back then. But what if you didn't have to? What if you already knew what mistakes to avoid making when dating men without ever having to actually make them? Wouldn't that save you from so much pain and heartbreak? Well, I hope so, because on today's show, we'll be discussing 14 things every woman should know about men before the age of 30. That way you already have expert experience when it comes to men without ever having to be hurt by them. Point number one is mindset versus money, because one of the easiest tricks society will play on you as a woman is convincing you that money matters when it comes to men more than anything. The reality of it is, and I'm telling you this as a man, you will find many rich men with lots of money and disposable income to throw at you and throw at your dates that will be very, very nasty human beings. And unfortunately, the world has put so much emphasis in your own mind on the idea of money that you forget that money doesn't necessarily equate to mindset. You might meet a man who's super rich, who will pay for everything and take you on really nice trips and really nice dates. You might even meet a man that will give you a Gucci bag or a Chanel bag, the classic flap, whenever you're mad at him or upset at him as his way of apologizing. And while that might sound amazing at first, what I want you to also take into consideration is that same man might mistreat you. That same man, especially when it comes to the super wealthy, super rich men, are probably going to be less accountable because they feel like, well, if you don't want to follow what my program is, if you're not down with how I go about things, how I lie, how I cheat, how I go behind your back, how I am a very inaccountable or not accountable in this relationship, well, then too bad, so sad, I'll find another girl. So the reason I say this is because what I want you to focus on when it comes to men and choosing the right man is choosing a man with the right mindset. Because a lot of times what you can do is you can find a nice middle ground with a man that is eventually going to have money. Maybe when you meet him, he doesn't necessarily have millions, but in the process of you growing with him, right? With a man who's actually going somewhere, not someone who has no plans, and a man who works hard, that you already see he's working hard. He's loyal to his friends. He's able to keep friendships in his life. He has a plan for his life that he's also executing on that plan, not just men who say, I want to be a millionaire, and then they sit by their computer and they're playing video games all the time, right? Men who actually have actionable plans and are getting to those plans, right? When you see that, when you come across that in a man, that's what I want you to really pay attention to and take notice of, because that's where you can find that good middle ground of growing with someone that will eventually become the rich and amazing and powerful man in a lot of cases, as long as he has the right mindset. Then, as you grow with him, you'll be able to hold him more accountable in this relationship, as opposed to the sad reality that I'll tell you, which is that a lot of these multi-millionaires that you'll meet of men, these type of guys like athletes and rappers and celebrities and entertainers that have already been established before you've met them, I'll be super real with you. A lot of those men are not capable of being accountable. At least they don't have a desire to, because for them, they spent so much of their life having women be brainwashed into thinking money is everything, that they sacrifice all the things that they wanted in a relationship for the man with money. And they understand that. So they understand that when women come to them, they don't have to be as accountable and as honest and as loyal and as everything else that the other men will be, because they have money. Our second point is about consistency, because consistency is the most important quality that I want you to be focusing on when it comes to men and the men that you're dating. Let me give you an example of what I mean. A man who sees you, let's say, twice a week. And yeah, maybe the twice a week is not enough for you. Maybe he's not texting you a whole bunch throughout that the times that you're not seeing him, let's say, for the sake of example, right? Let's say you feel like, damn, I wish I could see him more. I wish he would talk to me more. I wish he would call me more, or every day, whatever the case may be. That consistency over the course of many weeks and many months is always better than this. I hate this, okay? You will never be successful with men if you succumb to this. What this is like love bombing, where you meet a guy and then you see him every single day, okay, for like a week. And throughout this week, you feel like you guys are basically married, right? You start living with him, you're moving in all your stuff, you're brushing your teeth at his place, you're doing your makeup at his place, you're having a whole bunch of sleepovers, and all this stuff happens throughout 1 week. And you want to know what happens the next week? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Because he ghosts you after that. Because you guys just did a whole relationship in 1 week, and you went from being strangers to getting married to getting divorced all in the span of that 1 week, okay? Consistency matters more than any other trait I want you paying attention to. Whenever you're with a guy, I know it's painful, and I know it's not like a fairy tale. I know it's not like a Disney princess story when he's, gonna sweep you off your feet and he's gonna make you feel like he locked his eyes on you and he's never felt love like this in his life. I know it doesn't feel as magical and fantastical, but I promise you, consistency is where you'll really find your true happiness over the course of time. You will not be able to find happiness with guys that will do this to you. Do not allow yourself to be in this position. Always choose guys who might not necessarily make you feel that rush of energy all at once, like they're all in your face and they're all you can think about. Always choose the guys who can be consistent over long periods of time with you. And even if that isn't necessarily as intense as the other guys that you're used to, it'll be more beneficial for you in the long run. Point number 3 is about friends, because one of the realizations that some of you will not want to make when you meet a guy is when you meet him, you think he's awesome, amazing, and so kind and caring. And then you meet his guy friends and they're nasty, nasty human beings. You're going to say to yourself, oh, well, they're horrible. But these friends of his, they're nothing like my guy. My guy's so sweet. My guy's so intelligent. My guy doesn't talk about women like that. He doesn't treat women like that. He would never do that to. I promise you, you don't know that man. Because whether you like it or not, whether he likes it or not, his friends are a representation and a mirror of him. Now, obviously, in every group of friends, there's going to be some bad apples. But when you start noticing patterns and themes amongst his close inner circle of how they act, how they treat women, how they talk about women, how they go about their relationships, are they in relationships, right? And even just how they approach life in general, it's going to tell you a lot about that guy. I promise you, I'm telling you as a man, it is a silent cosign when you or your guy and his guy friend are a certain way. When that guy friend acts a certain way, talks a certain way, dresses a certain way, does things a certain way, it's a silent cosign. Especially the fact that they're close guy friends. Any guy he's calling his boy, that's my boy, right? He's proud of him. You see him all the time. You hear about him all the time. Anything that guy does is a silent cosign. Because the reality of it is, if that really wasn't his boy, okay, then they wouldn't spend as much time together. They wouldn't be around each other. And it's hard for you to be around in a circle of people and friends, especially who you don't co-sign their activity, who you don't co-sign what they do, how they choose to live their life, how they approach relationships. It's very difficult to be close best friends, boys, with a guy who you don't co-sign anything he does. So this is the reality. You have to understand and accept the fact that if you meet a guy and you feel like he's amazing and awesome, your experience with him is in a vacuum, meaning your experience with him is only of him and you together, void of understanding who he's been with his friends and who he is outside of being around you. And the easier it is, and the quicker that you accept the fact that he is who his friends are as well, the less likely you will get hurt in your relationships, because you won't have these unrealistic expectations of men who you think are amazing, who you think are stand-up men, but are really just like the players that they associate themselves with. For point number 4, it's all about learning, because I want you to kind of shift the way that you approach relationships from this to this. This mistake that a lot of you will make when you start dating men is meeting guys, understanding that they aren't really what you're looking for, and accepting the fact that, hey, this guy likes me, I'm into him, he looks good, he's attractive to me, but there's a lot of things that he's missing. But in the process of me dating him, even though he's pretty inconsistent, even though he's not romantic like I like, even though he's not as communicative as I would want a man to be or emotionally intelligent as I would want a man to be, he's cool. And so when I meet him, I'll change him into my dream man, okay? The reality of it is you will always fail in your relationships with men if you attempt to try to meet them and then change them into what you want them to be. The better approach to take when it comes to dating men and relationships with them is to realize that, look, when I meet this guy, he will already be exactly who he is. There is no changing him or adjusting him. And if he does change, it'll be of his own volition because he makes his own internal realizations. I can't control that. I want to come to this first date, first meeting, first hangout, okay, from the very beginning. And I want to learn as much as I can about this man, who he is, where he's been, what he's about, what his approach to life is, what his philosophies are, what his values are, what his morals are. I want to learn this man. I want to learn him for exactly who he actually is, not who I want him to be. I want him to be honest about his views. I want him to be honest about his perspective. And even if I disagree, that's all good news, because the more that I learn about him, the easier it will be for me to understand and decide if this is actually my person. See, the trick in the self-sabotage that your mind is going to be playing on you is your mind's going to convince you that, hey, the person you're with right now, the guy that isn't really your person, could be your person if you change him into your dream. That's the self-sabotaging trick. It's convincing yourself that even though you know deep down in your heart someone or some guy is not your guy, you can turn him into your guy if you just make a couple of changes. When the reality of it is, a person becomes your person, not through the experience of you changing him and turning him into something else. He is your person because he has the qualities already existing within him that you are looking for that work for you in a long-term serious relationship. Point number 5 is about understanding roles, because when you meet men, part of the learning experience and process should be understanding what he believes his role is going to be in a relationship and in a marriage as a husband, and what he believes your role should be in a relationship and then eventually in a marriage as a wife. Because as crazy as it sounds, when you meet men, they have a plethora of different values and morals and belief systems because all of them grew up differently. Very important that very early on you understand what those belief systems are to know for yourself if you and that guy are aligned. Let me give you an example. You could meet a guy, I'm telling you, because it happens all the time in my personal questions that I receive. You could meet a guy who believes that in a relationship, his role is to pay 50% of the bills. Your job is also to go to work. That he should be sleeping, coming home from work and relaxing, and you should be cooking, cleaning, and taking care of the children when it's time to come home. Oh yeah, and also add, yeah, you got to take care of 50% of the bills as well. That money is not yours, it's for the family, okay? So the reason I'm saying this is because if you feel like, wait a second, that doesn't make any sense. I go to work, I also cook, I also clean, I also take care of the children, and I pay 50% of the bills. That sounds like I have 2 full-time jobs and you only have 1. How is that fair? Precisely, okay? Because the reality of it is, when you meet a guy who believes that this is his role in a relationship, in a marriage, and this is your role in a relationship and in a marriage, that is a great sign to you that you and this guy are not going to work in a relationship. So it doesn't matter how attractive he is. It doesn't matter how tall he is. It doesn't matter how well he D's you down. You guys are not compatible. And I want you to understand that, accept that, and bathe in that. Because sometimes you might get to this place where you eventually realize down the road in your relationship or in meeting a man that he believes this, and he believes that this is your job and your role in a relationship, and you're like, wait a second, that's not what my job and my role should be. And you start thinking, well, I need to argue with you about this. I need to convince you that you shouldn't believe this, that you should believe something totally different. You should believe in the idea that I'm a housewife and this is traditional, and that you go out and you work and you pay 100% of the bills, right? You're not going to get a man to believe a different belief system just because that's not your belief system, okay? You have to realize in the process of learning men and learning what they're about, learning who they are, you have to learn what role they think they should be playing in a relationship and what role they believe you should be playing. It'll tell you a lot about them. It'll also tell you a lot about your compatibility. Point number 6 is about motivation, because I want you to understand the 2 most important motivations to get a man to act for you. Those 2 important motivations are always going to be appreciation and a need to feel important in the relationship. feel like they provide value. Now, what does it mean to make a man feel important? One thing that can happen to you as you grow and become a woman, a grown adult, is you get to the point where you spend time single, you get happy single, you enjoy your life single, and then you can start to develop this mindset that I'm fully independent to the point where I literally don't need a man for anything. Now, to an extent, obviously that's true. You don't need a man to live, but it's really important, I'll be honest with you, for men to feel like when they're in a relationship with you, I should say, that they are important in this relationship, that you kind of do need them, right? You do need their strength or their intelligence or their ability or their expertise, right? These are the type of things that keep men driven to continue to do things for you. And as they do things for you, of course, they also have a need to feel appreciated for the fact that they're doing things for you and recognize that they're doing things for you. And it doesn't have to be crazy appreciation. It also doesn't have to be appreciation as in sexual gratification, okay? You don't got to get on your hands and knees or your knees in general, or use your feet or your hands to appreciate him. It can literally just be with your mouth, not in a dirty way, okay? Right? And you have to understand how much of an important factor this is to a man's motivation to continue taking action for you. Because the reality of it is, what you want and what's most important to you as a woman, especially for the success of a relationship, is a man that will consistently take action for you, like take you out on dates, like call you consistently when he says he's gonna call you, like text you on a consistent basis, like try and be romantic in the relationship and make sure your needs are attended to and make sure your desires are attended to. All of that has to come from an internal place. There has to be like a lit fuse, a burning fire within him that is constantly going, that's keeping him motivated to continue taking that action. If he doesn't feel important in the relationship, he's not going to be doing a lot for you. And if he also doesn't feel appreciated by you, like you recognize the action, no matter how big or small, that he's taking for you, he's a lot less likely to continue taking action and doing good things for you. Point number 7 is about purpose, because I want you to understand when it comes to choosing men, and understand which men would be great partners to you, you really want to focus on understanding and learning about a guy, whether or not he has purpose. Because in this analogy that I'll give you, I want you to understand how this works within men. Purpose is like their fuel, okay? And the man is like the car. The car can't go anywhere. It can't get to any destination without that fuel. For men, it's the same idea. Without purpose in their lives, something that's driving them, that they feel they need to fulfill while they're on this earth. This is why they're here. This is how they're meant to serve the world. Without an understanding of that, and without an understanding of what they should be doing in this life, they will not have any destination that they'll be shooting for. The problem with that, because some of you are thinking, purpose is so deep. How can I find a man who has purpose? Why is it so important? Because without a clear destination of where that man knows that he wants to go and where he wants to be, the problem when it comes to men is they will begin to have an idle mind. Because without clear direction, without clear purpose, fuel for their car, and no clear destination, they'll start to wander. Their mind will start to wander. Their activities will start to wander because they just have time on their hands. And there's a saying that goes, an idle mind is the devil's playground. Whenever you encounter a man who is lacking direction and lacking purpose, that will always be the most dangerous version of a man you can be in a relationship with. Because those are the times, or the moments, I should say, those are the type of guys even that are most likely to fall to temptation when it comes to women, when it comes to loyalty, when it comes to different situations, right? Some of the things that you see on television and on the news, and you see men getting themselves in these really crazy, precarious, weird, strange situations, or doing some very vile and nasty stuff. I can promise you, it always starts when men have too much time on their hands, because their mind needs to work on something. And if it's not working towards a destination, it finds something to pinpoint on, something to obsess over, something to focus the energy in the body and the soul and the spirit on. And sometimes it ends up good, and sometimes that obsession turns them down a really dark rabbit hole. And I just have to be real with you when it comes to men, because I want you as a woman, when you choose men and when you meet men, to be able to identify the men who are having purpose and the men who seem to be lacking and void of a lot of purpose within their lives. That lack of direction is definitely going to hurt him in the long run. It's also going to hurt you as his partner. Point number 8 is about change, because I want you to know, don't ever believe in your mind that a man with your help and your pressure and you constantly nagging about it and asking him for it and begging him for it is going to make him change. One of the most important realizations you can have and understand about men, they never change for you. Never. No matter what they change. I don't care what it is that he changed. He doesn't change for you. Men, they change for themselves because of a realization they've had internally. When they have that realization, they realize within themselves that it is necessary for them to change if they want the circumstances or situation to change. A perfect example of that is a guy who constantly goes behind his girlfriend's back, does a whole bunch of sneaky stuff, doesn't treat her right, disrespects her. She begs and begs and begs and begs and begs, but stays and stays and stays until finally one day she puts her foot down and says, today is the day that I'm actually walking out that door. She takes her stuff, she leaves, she walks out that door, never to look back again. And then all of a sudden, that guy is messaging her, calling her, begging at her front door, crying in front of her parents, saying, I'll do anything. I'll delete all those girls on Instagram. I'll delete my Snapchat. I won't talk to another girl ever again. Look what I did. I ended this. I stopped talking to that girl. And all of a sudden, he's ready to make a change. Now, even in that scenario, you might be thinking, well, he did that change or made that change for that woman that he loves so dearly. No. He did that change or made that change because he realized within himself, I will lose the woman that I want and I'll lose the woman that I desire. That's really painful for me. And because I'm realizing how painful my life is going to be ongoing if I don't have that woman in my life, now I'm going to make a change. Not because of her, really. It sounds like it's for her, but it's really because of me and my own realizations about what's most important to me and how I want my life to be and what I'm not happy with my life right now as it stands. So the reason I say that is because when it comes to guys, don't waste a whole bunch of your energy thinking or anticipating that he's going to make a change because of how badly you want it for him. It's always better when dealing with men to understand you're better off just wiping your hands clean of it, allowing it to be. And if he wants to make a change, he will. And if you ever get to the point where you say, if he doesn't make a change, I can't be with him, then you walk away. But also understand that's probably the time he's going to want to make a change. Point number 9 is about ego, because you will be very powerful as a woman when you understand one of the most powerful ways to control a man, let's not tell anyone I told you this, is really by understanding how ego works within men and understanding how to use that to your advantage. For example, if you understand that within a man's ego, he'll always have a desire to feel better, that he is better, I should say, than other men, then you understand that if you can create scenarios in which he can see firsthand that other men are worshiping you, that they want you so badly, that they want to be after you, that they think you're amazing, they think you're beautiful, they want to take you out on dates, they want to marry you, they want to wife you. That's all going to feed into his ego. And all of a sudden, he's going to feel like, well, maybe I have what other men want. And if I have access to what other men want, then that means I must be better than those peasant men. That ego that's he's attaching himself to, right, is actually attached to his relationship with you. So you become a way for him to boost his own ego up. The reason that that's important is because if you become the thing that boosts his ego because of how other men worship you and how he knows that he'll be better than other men if he has access to you, now all of a sudden, the moments in which you might walk away from him or walk out of his life, now all of a sudden he starts to feel like, well, I might lose my ability to brag, my ability to fill my ego up, because she is the tool or the vessel that I use to feel good about myself. I know it sounds twisted, but that's how important ego is to men. And sometimes you can play into that by allowing the guy that you're with strategically to see sometimes that, yeah, other guys want you. They want you a lot. Yeah, if you don't pay attention to me and you're not talking to me at the party, some other guy's going to come up to me and he's going to have long conversation with me and he's going to be trying to buy me a drink and all that other stuff. As crazy as it sounds, it's good sometimes to trigger a man's ego, number one, and to use ego in a way where you understand these type of things are going to affect his ego, whether negatively or positively, and going to motivate him to take action on the fact that his ego has been affected. And I can use that to my advantage in the relationship to get him to pay more attention to me, to be more concerned about me in our relationship, and to also take more action for me. Number 10 is about being vulnerable. I'm not talking about you being vulnerable. I'm talking about him. Because for men, one of the key elements of getting close to a man's heart is making him feel things that he hasn't been able to feel in his other relationships. One of your superpowers as a woman is your emotions. Your ability to not just have emotions yourself, but to also unlock emotions for a man. Because men don't naturally grow up with the ability to be able to be in touch with their emotions, to be able to feel them and express them. It's just not a natural occurrence. But they have women in our lives, right? We have women in our lives for us to be able to cultivate that skill and discover that skill within ourselves. And partially, to be honest, discover ourselves overall as individuals. So the reason I say this is because when you get into a relationship with a guy, one of the things you want to be focusing on is getting to making him feel safer as quickly as you possibly can from that very first date, right? So important when it comes to men and relationships. I don't care what any guy says. Don't let them play this silly, oh, I'm super hard, I don't feel things, I don't get sad, I don't complain, don't let them pass that BS on you, okay, right? You say, oh, but you know, everyone feels down every now and again. You're telling me you've never been disappointed before. Get him chatting and talking and being vulnerable with you about things that don't make him look and feel as manly. I promise you, as you get him to soften up like this and discuss things to you that he'd be embarrassed to like discuss and talk about around his boys, you're going to soften his heart a little bit. And as you're softening his heart, you're going to be able to now enter his heart. It's a lot harder, I'll be just super real with you, for a guy to treat a woman badly who has softened his heart and he shared with her things that are really dark and deep about him that he has never really told anyone. It's a lot more difficult because as a man, you start to feel so much more attached to that woman when you're sharing all these super vulnerable parts of yourself. When you're being, have you ever seen those TikTok videos where the guy will be like kissing up on his girl and then he looks and he sees that his girl's taking a video while he's kissing up on her and he'll start boxing the air or something like that, trying to be super masculine? Because it's just impossible for men as they soften up like that, like they put themselves in a position where they're like, oh my gosh, like I don't even recognize myself anymore, but it's good. Because if that person can be you, then he feels so much more attached to you and connected with you than anyone else in his life. Point number 11 is about respect, because when it comes to men, I'll be real with you. You're never going to be able to demand respect from a man towards you. And I know that sounds like super weird, like almost misogynistic, but I really mean that in the sense that you're not going to be able to twist a man's arm and convince him that you deserve to be respected because you're you. The reality of it is the best way you can train a man to respect you is by having him put together this association. When he respects you, he will, in return, receive your time, your attention, and your energy, okay? Now, he'll receive that time, attention, and energy so long as he accomplishes this, respecting you. The moment he stops respecting you and begins disrespecting you, I'm erasing you for a reason here, he will no longer have any of you or any of your time, attention, or energy. You will be gone like a ghost. This is the only association you want men to make as it relates to respecting you. You're not going to beg for respect. You're not even going to demand it or ask for it multiple times on a regular basis. You're going to make him make this association for himself. When he respects you, he will get your time, he will get your attention, he will get your energy. When he chooses to disrespect you, he will get none of that. And if he doesn't like the fact that he doesn't get any time, attention, or energy when he disrespects you, then he better figure out how to respect you. Point number 12 is about the gift. I want you to understand this about men. Very, very important. Anytime they gift you something, take action for you, go out of their way for you, even whether it's something big or small, okay? This is an example of what men consider showing you their love. It's going to sound kind of weird, but I'll try and explain this the best that I can. Let's say he gets you a nice couple of flowers, okay? And he gets you, let's just say, tulips, right? Maybe tulips aren't your favorite flower in the world, but he decided to get you tulips today because it was a nice day, beautiful day. He was thinking of you. So he comes home and he gets you these dozens of tulips, right? Now, these tulips in itself might seem like something that's pretty small, right? It's just a small little gift. You might think, okay, I'm receiving the gift of tulips. So if I like tulips, I'll be happy. If I don't like tulips, I'll be less happy because I don't like those type of flowers. I'd rather have roses or something like that. What I want you to understand about men, this gift isn't actually a gift. This gift is a representation. A representation of what? It's a representation of his love for you. Because with men, we're less good at expressing our love by saying it out loud. We're a lot more good, all right? We're a lot better at expressing our love for you as a woman by taking action for you. So the gift isn't really the thing. It's the fact that he was thinking about you and thinking about your relationship and decided to go out of his way to go and get you those tulips to show his love for you. So the reason that I bring this up is sometimes when a guy takes a really small action for you, you can forget to yourself that what he's actually giving you at that time is a representation of his love. And your reaction to that representation of his love might feel like a slap in the face sometimes, depending on what your reaction is. Because like I just gave you in the example, he might give you tulips and maybe you really enjoy roses. And maybe the fact that you really enjoy roses actually kind of makes you upset that he got you the wrong flowers instead of getting you the ones that he should know that you love. But the problem with that is even though you're very justified in wishing that he would have gotten the right colored or type of flowers, now he feels rejected because he just took action for you as a representation of his love for you. And now he feels like you just denied his love. So a lot of times this can happen as a woman because obviously you're going to be very particular about the things that you want and the things that you enjoy. And you're going to find it kind of difficult to enjoy things that maybe aren't your cup of tea. But those moments are so delicate, especially when it comes to dealing with men, that you want to be very understanding of the deeper rooted thing happening here, which is that he just took action for me or went out of his way for me or did something for this relationship that he didn't have to do. I didn't twist his arm to do that. I didn't make him go to the store and get me flowers. I didn't text him to go and get me those flowers or make him do that or suggest that he does that or send him a subliminal. He just did it of his own volition. Those are the times where even though you might feel like, but I want to express my disappointment, I just want to tell him how stupid he is for getting me the wrong flowers. Those are the moments where you have to say no. I want to do something for him to do something for me in the long run, which is appreciate the fact that he went out of his way, recognize the fact that he went out of his way. And then later on, when the time has passed, I will mention the fact that I love roses even more than I love tulips. That way, when it comes to the moment where he's actually giving me a representation of his love, he feels accepted. And he also feels like, wow, what an amazing feeling I felt for being able to give and do for my woman. Point 13 is about being a problem solver, because when you choose the men that you want to be with, that you're going to make eventually, hopefully, your husband, make sure one of the qualities you're paying attention to is his ability as a man to be a problem solver. The reality of it is, if you want a masculine man, then your man has to have the capability and ability to lead, okay? And if he's going to have the capability and ability to lead, he needs to be able to problem solve so that he can help you guys get to the right destination. I don't care what you say. If you want to feel the best in your feminine, you enjoy feeling like a feminine woman, oh, you are in your soft girl era. If you enjoy that feeling, if you enjoy that dynamic of a relationship, Your man needs to be able to problem solve so that you don't feel the anxiety of, if I don't do it or get it done, my man cannot get it done. I'm going to give you an example of what I mean. There was a girl one time, I was having a conversation with her and I was asking her about her past experience with her ex. She said one of the things that she hated is that every time they would go out or plan something, she actually would despise it because every time they would go out, she would always have to plan the reservation, make sure they leave at the right time, make sure they show up where they're supposed to show up, and make sure they get in like all good, right? Because he was so bad at getting reservations, so bad at setting times and dates and remembering things that she just took over the process. And she always had to do that to the point where it made her feel stressed out and just drained to even go out because she couldn't enjoy the process and being in her soft girl era. So the reason I say that is because if you don't have a problem solver man, you will be in that same position where you constantly feel this, like it's like just like a tick. It's like a constant itch within you where you start to feel anxiety anytime something has to be done in your relationship, anytime something has to be done for the two of you or even for you, because you're like, I have to do my job, I have to do his job, I have to do both of our jobs, I have to do the team's job, and the pressure starts to build up in you. And all of that pressure within you is not going to allow you to be in your feminine. It's not going to allow you to relax. It's also not going to allow all the things that is supposed to be of your essence as a woman to work properly, because you have all this anxiety building up in you and because you feel the need to be so masculine in order to get this relationship off the ground and solve the puzzle that is life, the maze that is life, because your man is not at all a problem solver. Point 14 is about being passive, because the worst thing you could possibly do to your love life is choose a passive man. I know some of you are like, well, to be honest, I kind of enjoy shy guys. Shy guys are kind of my thing. I love the fact that they're so quiet in the corner, so humble. Those are the type of guys I go for. You will be doing yourself a disservice. In the long run, you will hate yourself for making that decision. Why? When you choose a passive man, especially when you know he's passive from the very beginning, and you're like, oh, well, I don't mind being the one who asks him out on a date. I don't mind being the one that gives him my number because he's too shy to ask for it. I don't mind being the one who sets up the first date because he's kind of just letting me do my thing. What's going to happen is, it sounds cute and quirky at the beginning. Then after a while, you'll realize you're in hell. Because as a woman, it doesn't feel good to always have to ask your man to do something, to tell him, I want this done this way, to do this like that. You stop feeling like his woman and you start feeling like his mother or his parent. And you get very dry, you get very unstimulated, you start to look at your man with disdain. He starts to disgust you. The sight of him starts to disgust you. Everything he does starts to pee you off. You can't stand him anymore because he just goes along with whatever you want. But you want a man that will do what he wants and allow you to be on his program or allow you to follow his lead because he actually knows what he wants, not just doing what you want. You feel like you're leading the relationship. You start to feel like, as a woman, you're in a relationship with yourself because your man doesn't have any opinion. He goes along with your opinion. He doesn't have any perspective. His perspective is your perspective. He doesn't have any thoughts. His thoughts are whatever you want. And trust me, it sounds cool at the beginning when you're dealing with the shy guy that's super passive, that won't take any steps forward. But when you have to do all the planning, all the organizing, all the scheduling, just for you to go out on a simple dinner date, you'll realize that you're in hell. That you see those girls on TikTok that their man will pull up or surprise them with this or do this for them, and they'll be like on this romantic getaway with their man that did all this planning and scheduling to make something special for them. You'll realize very quickly that will never be you, because your man is too passive and too shy to do anything for you in this relationship. He's always looking for you to give him the directions and the answer before he makes a move on anything. And I don't want that for you, which is why when you look for men and you look at which men you're going to go for or be with, never ever consider the passive man who you have to take action on or for in order for you to start building a relationship with him.